Hello everybody, the Lord Root here, and welcome back to another episode of Back to Basics. So we did leave a couple of loose ends untied here, and I just want to take care of that real quick before we move on to our next deal here. As it turns out, this contract wasn't actually completed, and so it would behoove us to go ahead and do that. Now we are a little while out, but a quick little burst will get us up to where we want to be. And there we go. That contract is now completed. We just narrowly missed it. The margins weren't as wide as I thought they were. Now that leaves a couple of things for us to do. Notably, we want to check our contracts. And we have a number of things here. This guy is certainly doable, but I don't want to mess around with it because it's going to take a while. However, we do have the option to build a surface outpost on the moon, and I think taking that is actually going to be a good idea. Now, we need this outpost on wheels, unfortunately, so that's going to take a little bit of a while. However, we do have some contracts we can complete, and that is 16 Kerbals. I think what we'll do with this is we will put this maybe down on the, I don't know, maybe down on the surface. That actually is going to be a pretty hefty vehicle. But in the interim, we have a few things that we might as well do, like rescuing Keldok. Now for this purpose, I've created a new vehicle, but we have to unlock some parts first, because we simply do not have them. And those parts are going to make up our first recoverable stage. So if I combine this, I believe I have called this guy, where is it? It's not showing up for some reason. Just let me take a look for it real quick, because it should be here. So I will be right back. There we go, we are back, and this is ART. It's not really an acronym, I don't know why I named it that way, but it's supposed to go with maybe a heavier lifter that I'm working on presently, called Barney. Like Bert and Ernie, except Art and Barney. So we have a couple of things we have to unlock for this. And this guy is single stage to orbit, as you can see. Now, if we could just find this one engine here. This engine is fairly efficient here. I'm just going to save this guy. We look to be pretty well set up here. So I am going to go ahead and launch. Oh, we need the inline stabilizer. Well, we can do that. Let's see, where is that? This is the medium SAS unit here. But we will get this guy into orbit and then maybe try to recover it. And we can go back to this type selection. Let us get Keldok here. Probably just as good of a time as any. He's a little bit ahead of us, but that'll just have to do for now. We can catch up with them. So I figure I will go through the launch this time since it is the first vehicle of this class. A number of new things here. First of all, we have this guy here, the skipper engine, which provides a good balance between mass and thrust. And that'll become important to us because, well, one of the things really that we want to do is we want to get this guy up into orbit and then bring it back down. And that means we have to keep the entire stage with us. Now this guy could probably roughly put maybe 3 tons into orbit, which is not much, but it's enough for these rescue ships. The idea is we're going to land maybe like the Falcon 9. That would be the idea here. And so, yeah, we are doing okay so far on that. Plenty of parachutes, 9 to be precise. And when we meet up with this guy, we are going to have to do some pretty nifty things to meet up with him. Hopefully we'll meet up with him at Apsis. That would be preferable. But an unlikely scenario for us. I also used the new editor widgets in order to splay these guys out a bit so that we have a little bit better of a surface to land on. Unfortunately, it's not the best surface, but it works in limited scenarios as long as it does not tip over. Speaking of which, we need to do now. And, you know, for the most part, the sky is not too difficult to get up into orbit. In fact, something that surprised me with this, we better adjust our inclination because we're way off in terms of our inclination here. But something that surprised me with this is just the amount of delta V this thing ends up having. It's more than you would actually think. Of course, it really depends on how I fly this thing, too. And I'm not flying it particularly well. But still, if you look at that stage 3 delta V, we are gaining quite a bit of velocity, and because we're in the upper atmosphere where these engines are more efficient, then we just happen to get a little bit extra delta V, which will be useful to us. Okay, that's probably good. Where are we now? Let's get up into the atmosphere. or out of the atmosphere a little bit. And let's get ourselves a rendezvous going. Now, unfortunately, this isn't such a good one yet. We would be better served, I think, but speeding up just a little bit, so I'm simply going to go ahead and do that. And look at all this Delta V we have left. Even with the less than stellar flight on my end, this is not a bad little orbital insertion we have here. Okay. We should be pretty close. And I'm just going to undock. And now we're at periapsis. Let's just get ourselves an idea of what we would want to do. I think we would be best served maybe by speeding up just a little bit. But you know, it's really hard to tell actually. Because, oh, come on, get out of the way here. It seems like what we're doing is making us move further away. So I think given our speed, we should at least attempt to... Oh, well, that's part of the issue right there. Our periapsis is simply too great. Well, let's at least see when we do this if we can find a way to make this happen. to where we catch up, because we are slowing down quite phenomenally. And I'm beginning to think, given our distance, it may be better for us to just increase our orbital period just a little bit. So we should do that. I'm going to go ahead and burn. With that in mind, might help to turn the engines on, of course. And then hopefully, around here, we can make the decision to pull on in somehow and meet up with this guy so that we slow down. Okay, do not do that. I'm gonna just destroy this maneuver node for now. I'm not recovering him yet. There we go. That's 4 hours until that maneuver node. I think if we can get this guy rotated around properly, then we will, before too long, be meeting up. Albeit at a frightening speed. One that will be hard for us to deal with, I'm sure. We will just let Kerbal Alarm Clock handle that because it's probably best suited for that. Several orbits for sure. Our orbital period, I believe, is probably close to 45 minutes or so. And hopefully this won't take too long, so I'm just going to pause the video here. Okay, we are back here on our last orbit, and as you can see, we are pretty close in. We can just get ourselves aligned here real quick and begin this rotation. Now it's some 5 or so seconds of burn time. You know, I guess it's one of those deals to where if you're waiting long enough, you definitely don't want to screw it up, as I appear to have done here. Let's just see how close we are. 3.4 kilometers. You know, that's not too bad. In fact, I see Kedlock out here, so I'm just going to begin pushing in, see if that helps any. Yeah, it's helping a fair bit, actually. I think it's partially because we have so little in the way of difference in inclination to worry about. There we go. Time for us to slow on down. That is more or less on target. And I think centering this guy is going to be a good idea. Now we have a maximum here of 2 kilometers or so, but we do want to be careful not to miss. And there we go. We should be on our way. Let's just use our maneuvering jets here to get in close. And it would be good not to hit this dude as well. As we are about to do. Well, I'd say that's pretty close in terms of our Oh no! Joeing snuck in. Wow. That is something else there. You know what? I guess Joeing is going to get kicked out of here. Whoa! Whoa, is he ever going to get kicked out of here? We'll come and get him later. I mean, this is essentially free for us now, so I don't necessarily feel as though we're doing anything particularly bad to Joeing. We're just punishing him for sneaking into the capsule. I mean, sure, it's a hell of a punishment. You know, throwing him out into space like that. But he did interfere with a mission. And I'm not really that inclined to lose this mission just because of the fact that he would like us to let him joyride in our spaceship. Now, I mean, sure, I guess it's only right that he's able to joyride in our spaceship. I mean, in reality, there's actually nothing right about it. He commandeered a spaceship, and as a result, is now unable. We're now unable to, you know, do anything about it besides let him stay in orbit. But we can at least get, oh, what's his face down? Oh, Keldok. Well, I think we're a little bit higher than intended here. I'm gonna go for 37, just because we have plenty of fuel, and if we really want to, we can take care of this in a way that would allow us to. Well, we're not trying to overshoot the VAB is the thing. Part of this craft being reusable is just taking advantage of the fact that it is able to easily get to the KSC. We are also moving in this weird direction here because of the way I'm pointing. Then I guess finally, and in between cutting these up, I'll rescue, oh, what's his face? Assuming that everything goes well. Because like I said, it is virtually free for us right now. But I'll bring down the rocket, and I think you do deserve to see that it can re-enter, if nothing else. Now, because of this guy's mass, it'll actually slow down fairly quickly, and there's not much we can do about that. Except hope that we get across the ocean. And maybe get a better contract out as well. Now, Bob, as it turns out, is still stranded. And I've considered the virtues of sending a rescue mission after him. And I think a rescue mission would actually be fairly welcome. But I think we will place that lunar habitat for what it's worth. Oh, we are very much short of our landing zone here. Maybe it'll become easier to land the other stage. I mean, in reality, we could fly this guy all the way out. I'm just gonna get rid of SAS here. Hope that this guy will point in the proper direction. There we go. So some 10 meters per second. I would prefer to keep this thing in one piece. So I'm going to use the RCS at my discretion. Altitude is close to under 100. It'll be under 100 here in a couple of seconds. I'm looking up in my upper right-hand corner. We do need to keep our parachutes intact. Let's see, have we ever gotten a crew report here? Yeah, we have. Anyway, old, Keldoc, I believe, is a scientist. Now, how could I know that? Well, of course, I've, played this once before. I'm just going to get our debris out of the way because that's always worth some money. And I think it's worth pointing out, in fact, that our launcher is a bit more expensive. Oh, there we go. This guy we could do quite readily, in fact. And really, we just need a little bit more science for it. And that's going to be a bit of an issue for us. We got this building a station in solar orbit that I'm not going to do because there's really no point to it. But let's go ahead and get some science, or maybe not get science out of it yet. I'm going to recover this rocket, which, we can finally see at least. I am erring on the side of caution here. I'm going to give us a fairly high periapsis to re-enter with. Maybe one of, I don't know, 48 does seem a little high. Let's go with 40. Maybe 38 even, because we did land a little bit short last time. Oh, come on. This thing, this new UI has this very weird problem where it doesn't always want to, like sometimes when you're trying to click on certain UI elements, it'll get in the way of things. Oh, that's Kerman apoapsis. Man, I do kind of feel sorry for Joing. I mean, we did rescue him from, well, I'm not going to say precisely this spot because it wasn't. But it was pretty close to it. And, yeah, I mean, I was going to say that it's a shame that we do have to leave him in orbit like that, but he broke the rules, you see. He broke the rules and now he must be punished. So here we are coming in for re-entry. A little bit on the heavy side. And we do not want to be facing prograde. That is bad for rockets. We want to be going retrograde. Incidentally, you might wonder where the probe core is mounted, and that is actually underneath the engine. It seemed like the best place to put it because the engine might wobble around a little bit, although it doesn't appear to be. In fact, it appears to be fairly intact. And I'm not entirely sure what's causing that. And I'm not really complaining about it either. But in the absence of larger probes, which we would want for this, because those are way up in the tech tree, and we're moving very slowly, by the way. I mean, ideally we want this guy to land at the KSC. So I do need to be paying attention to that because I will probably overshoot just a little bit. Although actually we're doing pretty well. As long as we do not land in these mountains, then I will be perfectly happy. And we have plenty of Delta V here for us to break if needed. Go ahead and pre-deploy those landing legs here. This is the part to where I get to be a little bit less certain about my landing. I'm not exactly sure what happened here. Other than I think I've lost too much kinetic energy. We may get a little bit close here. But chances are we have overshot the KSC just a little bit. And this is actually a bit of a problem for us because, we actually do want to be on solid ground here. Well, it's become apparent to me that this is where we're landing, and that nothing's really going to change that. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy the parachutes. And see what happens then. We're at a respectable distance here. It looks like we may... Yeah, we're coming down on the slope. This does not bode well for us. Because if there's one thing that this guy does not do well, it's slopes. Oh, we might have actually made it. Okay. Let's recover that, see what we got back. That could clearly use some tweaks. Oh, we got. It was okay, I guess. We got the engine back, which is probably one of the more expensive parts of it. By the way, this guy needs an upgrade. And the reason I'm upgrading this guy now is because of the fact that we really, we've got too many contracts, or we don't have enough contracts. And here we can have as many as we want. So, for instance, if I go here to our contract building, which is now fulfilled, I don't really... I'm not going to bother putting this guy into orbit. Let's see, temperature scans at the moon. I think we've done enough of that. Orbital station at Kerman. Now that one I'm going to take, if for no other reason than the fact that we really do need an orbital station around Kerman. And so I think that would be a good thing to do. I guess, real quickly, and then I'm gonna, do a little bit of stuff off screen. We have this guy around Minmus that we will need to get basically all of these biomes here. I'm not entirely sure if y'all can see that, but we have all of these regions here that we have to hit. And the one that will be the hardest to hit from my practice is this. This guy here is insanely hard to hit. But I will take care of that off screen and let you see this landing to see if maybe we can do it. This other stuff we've seen plenty of and it's just tedious. So I will see you then. And I'll also get Joeing back down from orbit. So I will make this fairly brief as I've not yet made the Minmus mission happen yet, but I did want to go ahead and while we had the time, show you what's behind this guy here. I sent up a rescue mission for Joeing. It actually worked out a whole lot better. I got my phase angle correct, and so I was able to meet up with him fairly easily. And now we're, as a result, trying to recover this vessel. And we really should, actually. The engine alone on it is worth it, but all the fuel tanks, too, are worth us keeping. Now, this should probably get an upgrade at some point so that it can point towards our apses. Even though this really has nothing in the way of lift. But we're just going to bring this guy down. And this reaction wheel does sure help with that. Again, we're shooting to go over the mountains so that we can avoid anything that looks like it may be dangerous. I've shot a little bit further out so that we don't have to worry too much about the shape of the body changing our lift. Not that I think it actually would. Maybe in 1.0. But I'm reminded of a statement that Elon Musk made with respect to Falcon, which is, why would you buy a Boeing, 787 just to throw it away after its maiden voyage, or something to that effect. Really just paraphrasing him, but it gives the idea. that we could do this. And I guess I will bring Joeing down back from his cage. This time nobody snuck in, so I did not have to kick anybody out as a result. Good thing, too. I really do hate having to evict people from their spaceships, but Joeing sorta asked for that. I guess he wanted to be left around in orbit where we found him. And that's what he got. Well, his joyriding days are probably going to be over. Although I think maybe I can trust him to pilot the Minimus capsule. Now we will be coming in fairly high over this. Clearing the mountains would be good. I don't know how successful that's going to be, but we would like to clear the mountains if at all possible. Although it does not look like it. It looks like this guy may crash. Well, if we can get around that, I would be happy to do so. Certainly, we at least want to get this guy past K2. Which I do not believe is happening. Okay, well let's try to land this guy here then. We have plenty of Delta V, so I'm not all that worried about it, but I do want to get ourselves to a better landing spot. Though I do not know if that is really an option at this point. I'm going to deflect a little bit over here at least, in the hopes that this land may be a little bit on the flat side. So a dome landing is sort of out of the question at this point. I do want to leave a little bit of fuel, maybe about 100 meters per second or so, to slow this guy down. But when the chutes deploy, that should cancel out any horizontal velocity that we have. And let me just watch our altitude here. When we get to 100, I'm going to start slowing this guy down. And the question is, will we run out of fuel? Yes, but that stage is no more. All in all, a better recovery, though. Not entirely sure what it was that we lost. Perhaps nothing, in fact. What did we get back? Oh, yeah. We want to get this guy over here. This guy is worth the big bucks, I think. There we go. That is much better. I guess a little bit of breakage is acceptable for what we're doing. though maybe not the best thing for us. Let's get Joeing back into rotation here as well. And when I do this, I think we should be good. In fact, it should only really be around here that we should have to worry. We want a relatively high apsis here. So we need to shoot past this continent, I think. And we need to aim high. Way back when I actually used to be fairly good at this. Alas, it was not meant to be so for me. But, there we go. We are almost in position here to rescue Joeing. And we will forgive him for this infraction. Just this once. Hopefully by being kicked out of the space capsule, he has learned a very valuable lesson about joyriding. And like those people in the 50s, he'll be like, "Gee willikers, Dad, I had no idea that flying a space vessel would be so difficult. And now I have responsibility of my own." Or I guess at least that's what the behavioral education videos of the 50s would have me think. Now, I think we should probably aim for about here. We may be a little bit low, but if our periapsis is this other way around, that is definitely a little bit too low here. Again, we almost have a fully fueled vessel. Part of the issue is that these things actually are mostly fuel. I mean, this vessel, of course, is more than just fuel. It's got a capsule on it as well. Let's see. Are we staring at the sun? Oh, we are staring at Earth. Joeing will, however, get pilot experience out of this, so he will have learned something. Whether it's enough to discourage him from behaving in this manner again is anybody's guess. 38 actually seems to be good. I'd much rather overshoot than undershoot here. And we do appear to be overshooting just a little bit. Well, we are past these mountains. And we have plenty of delta V at this point. So I am simply going to reduce my velocity. There may be hope for the best on this. We are approaching the sunset. I think as long as we have ourselves 100 meters per second at delta V, we will be okay. Though it's clear to me that we're having a water landing. There we go. Really nothing in the way of anything else we can do about that. We're several meters per second away from the Space Center now. Or several meters, rather. Distance is not a speed. I'm gonna go ahead and pop shoot. Still a little bit on the heavy side. And we do want to recover this vessel as soon as possible. So I'm just going to time warp until we get to about 100 meters or so. And then we will slow ourselves down. Ideally, we probably want to be hitting this guy about 5 meters per second or so in order to ensure this dude's survival. Also gathered a bit of science while I was up there. I got him to do an EVA report. That is somewhat of a no-brainer. Not much in the way of science, though, but look, we got our capsule science back, and Joing has learned something. He now has 1 experience. Speaking of which, some things we could think about. What could we upgrade next? Well, of course, we need 6 million to get this last bit of science. But that's not going to be easy to do. We might shoot for either upgrading the launch pad, which supports up to 140 tons right now. We haven't done anything with the landing strip. This guy would actually be the cheapest to upgrade. We might want more in the way of strategies. I'm going to be thinking about that while we're doing this, and I'm going to return to MP2 real quick. But before I cut out this part of the video, well, first of all, I should plug in my mouse, of course, so I can zoom in on this. And additionally, it would be very good of us to figure out where we want to hit. Now, I thought we actually had more than one place here, but we don't. We have this guy here, 3SO. We are pretty close to its ascending node, actually. And so the idea is that we're going to do what we've done more or less the entire time. which first is going to be that we're going to lower our axis. In fact, I'm just going to lower it into the ground and raise it as needed. And then I'm going to get on this other side here and maybe get us angled correctly. Now maybe this is a little bit too much, we'll have to see, but we are at the descending node. So we actually want to burn the opposite way. We want to make our orbit a little bit more on the extreme side. Periapsis is 6 kilometers or so. Always a little bit hard to tell with these guys. I think it's just perspective messing with my head a little bit. But we're gonna fly past this guy. We're gonna be in a very tight orbit. In fact, I am going to bring this guy up to maybe a small fraction of that orbit, and then we will move this guy into position here. I think doing this periapsis burn will get us in the proper place. This guy we're going to save for last, of course. But I'm going to turn around once I make this burn here. And I'm going to hit W94. So let's do that. We got 2 hours to wait until that point, so... Okay, not the brightest idea for me. You know what, we have plenty of delta V. It doesn't particularly matter, and what I'm going to do to make up for this is go for this guy instead, this polar guy. And I will see you when I'm done. So, we are back, and I've more or less completed everything except for this one landing. We still have plenty of delta V, or at least so it would appear. But there is a bit of an issue here. The issue primarily being that we can get to this guy over here, and that would be okay. It's constantly moving, so it may not be as easy to do as I would like. But this guy is going to be moving away from us, and it's very difficult, given the circumstances, to burn accurately enough to land. We're just going to give it a shot. And hope for the best here, because even zoomed in, it's very easy to miss this point here. I'm just operating under the assumption that the planet is rotating in the direction that we've burned, and so maybe the best thing for us to do now is to deploy our landing legs and monitor our height. We could also activate navigation, but I don't think it'll help us much. But we will see. I mean, the bizarre thing about this is we will get this message that'll say that we are really close in. In fact, probably not a bad idea for us to go ahead and burn, I should imagine, given our height from... oh, we're still a few kilometers in. But I think a rover may be better suited to this task. Well, I'm going to get in as close as I can at least, which should be about here or so. A little change in inclination will probably help us hit that point. But we must be very careful here. Because we're actually pretty... well, we're in orbit for one, which I do not want to happen. I think certainly after... see how easy that is? I mean, I'm thinking maybe the best thing for us to do is to... landing could be the best idea here. That seems to be a relatively good one as well. If we can get over here and get around the fact that we're constantly having to adjust our inclination in order to just meet up with this guy, then that could help. Ooh, we were going the wrong way. This is the danger here, is that we have no real way of telling how close we are. Because as it turns out, this is not a rendezvous target. Ooh, okay, wrong way. Very slowly eating at our budget here. I think about here is perhaps where I want to burn to reduce my velocity. And I am going the wrong way. So yes, unfortunately, we only get a limited number of tries on this. I'm going to reduce our velocity some. Maybe burn towards the target somehow. And we need to get out of orbit. Although it appears this is the proper direction for us to be going, at least. But more on that here in a bit. I'm just going to coast way on over here. And when we get close by, we'll kill that velocity. Okay, very quickly, kill our velocity. Go a little bit over here just in case. And did we get this? Yes, we completed that contract. That was not the easiest thing for us to do. Unfortunately, I have no choice but to transmit this now because we will not have enough Delta V to get into orbit, I don't think. So, yeah, we'll just leave this guy here, just in case we need science, and we'll leave this guy as a landmark. And that leaves a couple of things for the next episode. I do have more than enough science now to unlock a few things. Things which we will definitely want and perhaps need. I'm thinking for sure we want this experiment here. It'll be well worth it. But we have about 150 left, and so we get to choose between this guy, which will give us the rovers, which is something that could be useful for us, or we can get better rockets. I'm thinking that for now, in the absence of a good heavy lift system, I'm gonna go with the rockets. And this over here will be that. Let's just take one final look at our contracts, see if we can get anything that we want. A geosynchronous satellite. I think that's easy science. I'm gonna take it. Unless we really see anything else we want. We're not really limited anymore. Tell you the truth. But, yeah, we will do that for now, I think. That gives us more than enough research here to be able to move forward. And when I see you next time, perhaps we will get a base going. Until then, this has been Thy Lord Root, and I will see you later.